Rise and shine. 6 a.m. and your hand can't make it to the alarm clock before the voices in your head start telling you that it's too early, too dark, and too cold to get out of bed. Aching muscles lie still in rebellion, pretending not to hear your brain commanding them to move. A legion of voices are shouting their unanimous permission for you to hit the snooze button and go back to dreamland. But you didn't ask their opinion. The voice you've chosen to listen to is one of defiance. A voice that says there was a reason you set that alarm in the first place. So sit up, put your feet on the floor, and don't look back, because we've got work to do. Welcome to the grind. For what is each day but a series of conflicts between the right way and the easy way? 10,000 streams fan out like a river delta before you, each one promising the path of least resistance. Thing is, you're headed upstream. And when you make that choice, when you decide to turn your back on what's comfortable and safe and what some would call common sense, well, that's day one. From there, it only gets tougher. So just make sure this is something you want, because the easy way out will always be there, ready to wash you away. All you have to do is pick up your feet. But you aren't going to, are you? With each step comes the decision to take another. You're on your way now, but this is no time to dwell on how far you've come. You're in a fight against an opponent you can't see, but oh, you can feel him on your heels, can't you? Feel him breathing down your neck. You know what that is? That's you. Your fears, your doubts, and insecurities all lined up like a firing squad, ready to shoot you out of the sky. But don't lose heart. While they're not easily defeated, they are far from invincible. Remember, this is the grind, the battle royale between you and your mind, your body, and the devil on your shoulder who's telling you that this is just a game. This is just a waste of time. Your opponents are stronger than you. Drown out the voice of uncertainty with the sound of your own heartbeat. Burn away your self-doubt with a fire lit beneath you. Remember what we're fighting for, and never forget that momentum is a cruel mistress. She can turn on a dime with the smallest mistake. She is ever searching for the weak place in your armor, that one tiny thing you forgot to prepare for. So as long as the devil is hiding the details, the question remains, is that all you got? Are you sure? And when the answer is yes, when you've done all you can to prepare yourself for battle, then it's time to go forth and boldly face your enemy, the enemy within. Only now you must take that fight into the open, into hostile territory. You're a lion in a field of lions, all hunting the same elusive prey with a desperate starvation that says victory is the only thing that can keep you alive. So believe that voice that says you can run a little faster, and you can throw a little harder, and that for you, the laws of physics are merely a suggestion. Luck is the last dying wish of those who want to believe that winning can happen by accident. Sweat, on the other hand, is for those who know it's a choice. So decide now, because destiny waits for no man. And when your time comes and 1,000 different voices are trying to tell you you're not ready for it, listen instead to that lone voice of dissent. The one that says you are ready, you are prepared. It's all up to you now. So rise and shine.
Be the kind of trader who sees the big picture. The world is changing around you. Global threats push gold, the safe haven asset, to higher prices each and every day. Now's your chance to start trading gold. Just go to capex.com and register to get up to a $5,000 bonus on your first deposit. Simply use GOLD5000 as a promo code and you're good to go. Capex.com proudly welcomes you to the next level trading experience. Register now and start taking full advantage of the new gold rush. Terms and conditions apply. Exposure to gold obtained via contracts for difference, which are leveraged products and incur a high level of risk. Capex.com is operated by JME Financial Services, Pty Ltd, an authorized financial services provider.
Look, I'm exhausted. Had it all figured out and I lost it. They say that's the cost, but it just feels like a lot. Stop, are you going or not? I miss certainty. Miss the 9 to 5s, knowing exactly where I need to be and why I'm not built for this. Progress moves in slow motion. They're out making money and getting promotions, saying all the right things, pulling all the right levers, while I sit here, write my future self love letters. Who's winning? Is this the end or beginning? 'Cause I'm starting to feel like reality's slipping, and bank accounts, they aren't very forgiving, and life on edge feels like falling, not living. If effort brings victory, what am I missing? Nothing good comes easy. When we have to, we push through, not knowing completely. You're here because you're made for this next level, taking these places that most people won't. Start embracing it. Who cares what they do? They're not you. You'll go through more now than you think you're supposed to, but that shows you can cope with the highs and the lows, because you rose to be more. Could've run away, could've avoided the thorns, could've been comfortable. Blood, sweat, and tears, they're expendable. No more pretending, man, build something memorable. Don't drink from their cup or by stories they tell, because when all their time's up, you'll have dug your own well. You did it. Use lifelines, you're topped off for a lifetime. So drop all those one-liners, we'll get them next time. No, this time is your time, and whatever you decide will end up being real life. No stop signs, just storylines. This whole thing is a misunderstanding, a miscalculation. Statistics, yeah, about me was overly optimistic. Forgot the logistics. Guess we all learn sometime, don't we? Good is not good enough. No. How long do I stay down before I let go? I buried my pride and took it inside, but never enough. It takes a toll. It gets old getting told you've got miles of road left to go. You're alone with this future unknown. Just go home. Just go home. It's safe there. Yeah, I'll find some embrace there. Look, it's time to admit defeat. A humble retreat, check the box and complete to my core. Intrinsically, it's not for me, I can't do this. I knew this is how it would be. No fame, no be. Destiny's calling, let the phone ring. You know there's no all-knowing. Go level up, no letdowns. Let the world in, push fear out. It's self-belief, it starts right now. When hell freezes, you lay down. Until then, it's your town, it's your story, it's your crown. Live in the clouds, feet on the ground. They stand still, you run around. Go mesmerize, or they socialize. There's dollar signs to be maximized. If you live it right, regret nothing. Loud applause, the sweetest sounding. This moment won't happen again, and never becomes forever unless you choose to begin. So see greatness in each step and power and progress. Your future, yeah, that's limitless, it's infinite. Don't forget you want this.
What's stopping you? Are you too tired? Didn't get enough sleep? Don't have enough energy? Don't have enough time? Is that what's stopping you right now? Don't have enough money? Is that the thing? Or is the thing that's stopping you, you?
Excuses sound best to the person that's making them up. Stop feeling sorry for yourself. Get off the pity potty. Telling everybody your sad and sob stories, trying to get people to show up to your pity potties and your pity parades. If you ever see me in a Rolls Royce, a 6 or 7-star hotel, living my life to the fullest, don't get jealous of me, because I worked my ass off to get it. Nobody handed me nothing. Wake your ass up. Awaken the beast inside. It's game on. It's go season. It's time for you to take advantage of the access and the resources that you have in your country and your community. You got a problem with your life. You got a problem with your environment. Do something about it. If you want it, go get it.
Recognize the excuses are.
But they truly don't understand the principles so eloquently stated by Abraham Lincoln. Quote, "You cannot strengthen the weak by weakening the strong. You cannot help the wage earner by pulling down the wage payer. You cannot help the poor by destroying the rich. You cannot help men permanently by doing for them what they could and should do for themselves."
Good morning and welcome to Bull Markets Talk Show. This is your host Rian Hobson, and we're doing actually the scary part of South Africa, and that is now the nationalization of the Reserve Bank. Now, as I said, the nationalization proposal is on the table. And obviously, it will now actually get debated in Parliament, and then obviously it's public participation, and then the bill will maybe get signed or not signed, and that is all now to do with Parliament at the end to vote on it, to say okay, to say will it go through or not. But we all know now that the ANC has been using its power in the National Assembly to actually to push any participation action here. This is absolutely nonsense. We don't want this, which the majority actually was against this whole land expropriation story, and now it is the nationalization of the Reserve Bank. This is getting now totally out of order. Totally out of order. I mean, it is first the pension funds, then it is the land expropriation story, and now it is also the nationalization of the Reserve Bank. On top of that, we had the most aggressive lockdown that the world have ever seen. We actually had the strongest lockdown regulation. I mean, the ban of cigarettes and alcohol was, nobody would even think about that. There's not a country, what I know, besides Botswana, and later on they actually cancelled the whole cigarette story. It is totally ridiculous what is actually currently going on with the ANC. The looting and the stealing, and it's just getting better actually by the day. And this is, honestly speaking, this is now becoming absolutely unbearable. It's totally unbearable. These guys are just infringing on our rights and just keep on doing whatever they wish. And the EFF, that fucking useless cunts, has no actual brain of knowing what communism and all these laws can do to a country. Nationalization of the Reserve Bank must not be even on the fucking table on the first place. How did we get to the... So, and what is absolutely... What for me is weird, you still... Knowingly that these guys can loot at any given time, you want actually the Reserve Bank to be controlled by the national government. Knowingly, these guys just know one thing. It is to steal. That's it. Lie, steal, and just go on about it. I just don't understand why South Africans are not making a noise. I'm not saying that we must go as go ahead like those thugs in the United States, the Black Lives Matter people, by burning down infrastructure, cars, whatever they burn. They are worse than rats, actually. They just eat everything. I'm not saying that South Africans must behave like that. Of course, we have infrastructure that is still alive that we can literally capitalize on. So it's no use of burning it down. But South Africans is saying that, let's talk about absolutely nothing. The problem is Floyd Savambu, he was actually now stating in a newspaper article that I picked up, he stated that it's about the ownership of the Reserve Bank and not the role of the bank. So they want to change actually the ownership of the Reserve Bank. So, which means the private owners. I think there's about the last time I checked, there was about 750 owners of the Reserve Bank. I think it can be maybe close to 800. I'm just not sure. But the private owners of the Reserve Bank, South Africa is one of 9, I think, 9 or 10 the reserve banks in the world. that is still owned by private ownership. Now, most of the banks, Federal Reserve, the ECB, and all your big banks or central banks are basically owned by the state. But they are independent from the state. Now, for them or for the EFF and the ANC to do this, you need to compensate these investors that are putting their money at the Reserve Bank, which is actually the most useless investment that anybody can do. I don't know who want to invest in the terms of our Reserve Bank, because there's absolutely no return on investment there. But obviously these people are doing it. I don't know for what reason. But the mandate of the Reserve Bank is very clear, that they are there for the value of the rand, or basically protecting the value of the currency, and also gaining balanced and sustainable growth. And obviously the Reserve Bank has its mandate with the inflation targeting with about 3 to 6% inflation. Now, there's dangers when it comes to inflation. And those of you who knows and understand economics, we know now if inflation goes totally out of control, for example, it moves up and it gets to 7, 10, 12, 13% inflation, and that can lead to serious problems. Bread prices will be totally out of control. All prices, for example, will be totally out of control. And then it can lead to where we know now of Zimbabwe and Venezuela. And that's why the Reserve Bank has its mandate of a 3 to 6% inflation target, so that inflation does not go out of control. What the Reserve Bank normally do is when inflation is getting totally out of control, which was actually done by a study, which was actually done by Tito Mboweni in the late 1990s, where inflation in South Africa got a bit out of control. And he actually stemmed inflation down by actually pushing the interest rates up to try and bring down inflation. And it worked actually successful. It was actually a successful story. I remember in my second year in economics, we were thought about what happened with our inflation story. But the whole story actually came also from the United States with Paul Volcker. In the late 1970s, 1980s, where inflation actually went out of hand, and by lifting up the interest rates quite aggressively, it caused actually recession, but the inflation was in control. So he brought actually the inflation back to sustainable levels, and then after that, the economy actually had its most prosperous years in the era of Ronald Reagan. Now, he did actually exactly the same with inflation in South Africa, Tito Mboweni. And the problem is now that Tito Mboweni is totally now getting attacked. Besides the governor of the Reserve Bank, Tito Mboweni is literally experiencing a wave of attacks for the last few months. He was actually fighting for tobacco to need to get sold. I think also he fought for alcohol that needs to get sold, so that SARS can get some revenue in. And on top of that, he actually made now the other day a statement regarding the central banker from Zambia that got fired overnight. They just fired the guy because he just did not agree with the Zambian government. And when he made that statement, the president of this country did not even defend the finance minister. And on top of that, you have a wave of attacks, whether it's on social media or whether it's the ANC internally that attacking the finance minister. And we all know now that the finance minister actually has a very good record as a central banker. He really did a sterling job when he was there. Although he is under attack from myself, how he handles our finances now, because it's absurd what he's actually doing by putting us under enormous debt and thinking that the ANC government will literally take us out. I'm actually the first one who was literally thinking, hey, this guy is doing an absolutely terrible job as finance minister. He of all people must know the story of Tighten the Belt. But now these demagogues of the EFF is literally now pushing this narrative through of nationalization of the Reserve Bank. It's fucking ridiculous what is going on in this country. We can't just sit and wait for these looters just to loot whenever they want. This is fucking ridiculous. This will be the end of South Africa. This will be the end. Whether you are a fucking living in dreamland, this will be the end of South Africa. Extremely high inflation or hyperinflation. A currency that is absolutely useless. No one wants your currency. Not the United States, not China, nothing. And everybody think that South Africa will be good on our own with this useless currency. It does not work. If you don't understand economics and how the Reserve Bank works, just shut the fuck up. I will just take a short break and I'll be back with you.
The champ is here! 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 The champ.
Steve Jobs, Elon Musk, Warren Buffett, Bill Gates, Ted Turner. Success leaves clues, kids. I just named 5 of the greatest names in business in the last 150 years. And they all have one thing in common. They're ball busters. They're hard as nails. Where does that leave you? I still work 50, 60 hours a week. And I haven't had to work in 35 years. You're not willing to do anything. You're not willing to sacrifice anything to be a high-performance person.
I don't want to be like that.
No, most people don't.
I want to be liked.
Yeah, well, see, you want to fit in. I'm the only speaker that you're ever going to hear that really, with all his heart, doesn't give a shit. If I leave here you liking me, I did something wrong.
In 2010, a 1-ounce gold Kruger Rand cost around 8,000 Rand. Today, in 2020, that same 1-ounce gold Kruger Rand costs over 24,500 Rand. That's a 300% increase in price in 10 years. Is it worthwhile for you to invest in gold? It could be. Find out more information. Get educated. Visit us at thinkgold.co.za for more information or to buy your gold.
Do you remember them days where you thought it was absolutely unbearable and you thought you wasn't going to endure that one? Do you know that your survival rate for every last one of them bad days is 100%? Your track record for surviving bad days is 100%. That's a fact. Your track record, you batting 1,000. You done survived every funky day you ever had. You survived every hater. You survived all the evictions. You survived the firings. You survived all the tell you no, we ain't hiring. You survived all the trouble you ever been in. Your survival rate is 100%. 100%.
I'm going to get destroyed. But if I can still be standing on my feet, then life isn't so bad.
Somewhere along the line, you changed. You stopped being you. You let people stick a finger in your face and tell you you're no good. And when things got hard, you started looking for something to blame, like a big shadow.
You know what you are. What you're made of.
Let me tell you something you already know. The world ain't all sunshine and rainbows. It's a very mean and nasty place, and I don't care how tough you are, it will beat you to your knees and keep you there permanently if you let it. You, me, or nobody is gonna hit as hard as life. But it ain't about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. How much you can take and keep moving forward. That's how winning is done.
Getting your business funded is a lengthy process with the banks, and it can take weeks before getting an answer. ProfitFX works with the best in the finance industry to bring you an unrivaled business funding solution for South African businesses. Our funding partners have funded millions in the last year, in support of growing your business and our economy. Get in touch with your talk show host to request more information. A trade history of 3 years or more and an annual turnover of 1 million rand or more is required. Terms and conditions apply.
But they truly don't understand the principles so eloquently stated by Abraham Lincoln. Quote, "You cannot strengthen the weak by weakening the strong. You cannot help the wage earner by pulling down the wage payer. You cannot help the poor